So you just about died. How old were you?
17. I was in a head-on collision and survived a car accident that the California Highway Patrol said I shouldn't have survived. And I had what they call a near-death experience. I got very interested in what happens after you die. I realized that I could have very easily transitioned. And so I was very interested in what happens after death. I actually went and met with Dr. Raymond Moody, who wrote the books on life after life. And he did a lot of the work with near-death people that had.
Can I ask you what happened in your near-death experience?
I think it was pretty classic. You know, I definitely saw I went into a very different spatial temporal state where everything went into a kind of slow motion. And it was as if the glass was just suspended in air from the crash. And then I just saw like my inception all the way up to that moment. And I just saw my whole life literally. And it was just this, as if I lived my life a second time, but in a moment. That was the experience.
What did that do for you, that experience? How did it change?
One, it made me, you know, at the time I was a senior in high school, my probably biggest interests were baseball and other things. But music was certainly a big interest. My family, I come from a family of musicians. So I think what it did is it made me really think about death in a very deep way. And if you've ever seen, there's a film about a man who's in a plane crash. And then he survives the plane crash. And it's a man who had a lot of fears, but he comes out of it. Jeff Bridges is the person. He's like looking at his hands and, am I alive or am I dead? I was in that state for about 2 weeks. It was a very strange state to be in. And that got me interested in what religions say about after death. And so I decided to study all the world religions just from that perspective. And the one that really, really resonated and struck me as having a very, very powerful description was the Islamic tradition. And I actually ended up, ironically, writing in the study Quran, which was published by Harper. I ended up writing the essay on death in the Quran, which is how I actually became Muslim. So it was a very interesting, serendipitous